everyone, and welcome to Way of Life Dog Training. I'm here with our client Melissa, mom to mini poodles, Archer and Stormy, beautiful little dogs who have been doing so amazing with the Way of Life method. And we felt it was high time that we shared her story with all of you. So let's get started, Melissa. As I
Right.
mentioned to you before I clicked the recording, we're going to talk a little bit about before, during, and after. So, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience? Tell us a little bit about you, about your pups, and what brought you to us.
Hi, I'm Melissa, and I'm in a suburb of Denver, Colorado. I have two miniature poodles who are now 10 and a half. That would be Archer, and 7.5, Stormy. Um, and I have worked with dogs. I've always been passionate about all animals, dogs in particular. So I've studied dog behavior for a number of years, well before I found the Way of Life method. I always believed that a positive, kind, connected way is the right way with animals. And I had literally exhausted all of those things prior to finding Way of Life.
Hmm.
Archer, and each of my dogs had different challenges. Archer came to us, I thought, as a very anxious being, um, super sweet, very gentle. And I did all the things that I thought I was supposed to take him all the places, expose him to all the sounds,
Right.
worked with a variety of different trainers, and some who are, lean more toward the what we call positive reinforcement. We did
Yes.
actually experience a couple of folks who were not of that same method, and they were pretty aggressive.
Hmm.
And I think Archer, who has such a sweet soul, definitely held all of those things. And he came into a house of stress. I have two kids who are now 20 and 18, and
Hmm.
obviously the dogs have been here for a long time, and the home has been dysregulated and stressful for a long time. And unbeknownst to me, like that obviously affects our dogs. And then we decided to
Yes.
add Stormy without really understanding how to do that. And
Hmm. How to do what? How to do the process of
how to,
integrating a
yeah,
new
how do
dog?
we integrate? So we just
Yes.
integrated. And if I could do over, and we'll get more into that, I definitely would keep them separate.
Hmm.
And
At least at the beginning.
oh yeah, for sure.
Yes.
And I wish I had that knowledge, but I didn't, and we did the best we could. And Stormy came to us. She's a fiery little personality, the smartest little dog. Um, Incredibly, she tracks everything. That was the other piece with for Archer is he doesn't see super well, and our journey has just been really interesting in his anxiety. He could not even manage getting to the vet. So that would be,
Hmm.
I'd say one of the things that drew us to Way of Life is we were working with behavior vets, and we tried all these different medications, which actually just made him feel worse.
Right.
Um, and worked with behavior vet and behavior trainer, which actually was really great to do cooperative care just to get him into the vet.
Hmm.
We had lots of special treatment. Thankfully, we have a lovely vet who's willing and able to work with us and support Archer and me. And that was another piece of like I realized like I need to calm myself down because it's super stressful when your dog is like freaking out trying to go to the vet. And
Yes.
you know, we all have to go attend to ourselves medically a few times a year. So that was the piece for him. And then Stormy resource guarded a little as a puppy
Hmm.
and as a younger dog. And so I just stopped giving her chew bones and things like that because that was the best way to manage it. She
Yeah.
never resource guarded food. And her journey is different too because unbeknownst to us, she had pretty severe pancreatitis. I think she was
Hmm.
born with it, and we were feeding both dogs kibble because that's what we knew.
Yeah.
And in the summer of 2020, which was not a great time for any human being,
Hmm.
or creature, she had a severe attack of pancreatitis, and we almost lost her. And so
Hmm.
that began the journey, my journey of kind of being curious about food stuff,
Yes.
and also how pain contributes to behavior in dogs. And as
100%.
over time, I realized that she needed to eat not kibble, and that's been a whole other journey, which we can talk about in another time, but
Yes.
it's her as as her pain went away, her behaviors changed.
Mm-hmm.
And there was still some aggression toward Archer and others sometime. And so that always had me concerned. And her biggest challenge also, and still continues, but it's much less intense, is her leash behavior. She's
Mm-hmm.
pretty active on the leash. And so that was a piece of learning, for 7.5 years we've been working on and we continue to do. But it's definitely since we started a way of life, much less intense and sometimes not even existent.
Good. What was your biggest desire at the time that you were struggling with the issues with Stormy and Archer?
I think the catalyst that brought us here, after doing all this work, and we've spent so much time, money, and energy trying
Energy, yes.
to support these dogs. The dogs were out in the yard one day, and um, Stormy went after Archer always picks a toy that he loves, and Stormy thinks it's fun to take it, which can be fun and funny, but he took the toy because it was really his toy of choice, and she really went after him and made contact, and he
Mm-hmm.
squelched, and that was the first
Mm-hmm.
time. And I thought, oh my gosh, these dogs are not young dogs. This is only going to get more challenging as they age.
Yes. That's
And
very true.
we've done everything. We've done medication. Stormy had also been medicated because she's anxious in different ways
Mm-hmm.
around storms and fireworks, which,
Yes.
all the things. And I ended up taking her off the meds because it worked for a month or two and then it just exacerbated the problem. So I took her off. But when this contact happened, I all I could think of was this is only going to continue to be a more intense problem as they age and stage. How do
Mm-hmm.
I support them and myself? And I had the thought of like maybe I need to rehome Stormy, which isn't really what I want to do, but for the health
Right.
and well-being of each of them and our home, like what do I need to do?
Yeah.
And that's when I found the way of life.
Mm-hmm. So what resonated with you when you read the book and learned more about the approach?
Um, I'll admit it was like, wow, this is like a whole definitely aligned in many ways with connection. And I've always believed that to be true. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
always had a deep connection with my dogs and all things, in the natural world. And I thought, oh my gosh, this makes sense. Like it's not going to be easy. That was the first thing
Mm-hmm.
that I thought. This is not going to be easy. What do I need to do to be prepared? And it makes sense to separate them and kind of start over. And my dogs, we've
Yes.
been doing this for almost 2 years, 2 years September.
Mm-hmm.
My dogs were not young dogs. I could
Right.
see how effective it would be if you had a puppy or a dog that's brand new to you. Maybe, you adopt a dog that's maybe not young.
Yes. Well said.
Yeah.
It can be very challenging for someone to have lived with their dogs a certain way for however many years, and then to come across the method and realize that the way forward is actually a reset and stepping back and going back to basics and separating dogs that had been integrated, separating dogs that had been, together all the time,
Hmm.
putting up boundaries between us and our dogs when there were none before. That can be very, very challenging. And this is where the folks that tend to do very well with us are okay with the short-term pain for long-term gain idea, but
Mm,
also are not willing anymore to live with the issues that they were living with before, whether it's aggression or dogs fighting or any of the
mhm.
issues, is that they're just not willing to live with those anymore for the sake of their dogs, really.
Right.
Good. Tell me more about what resonated with you or what you felt might be challenging in applying the method, and any challenges that you encountered as you
Mhm.
started to apply it and live it.
Well, I'll say probably the biggest challenge was the family that lived in the house at the time, which were still my two children. One of
Mm-hmm.
them is pledged,
Mm-hmm.
being out of the state now, and my husband. And I've always been like, the dogs are my dogs. I've done all of the work and care and curiosity around like how can I support them.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of criticism. And then my extended family, who
Mm-hmm.
they have also a mini poodle, who, they were like, you're putting your dogs in cages. And that
Right.
was that, that outside, like all of the stories that everybody's bringing to the table front, and it was
Yes.
disruptive. To be honest, once we started, like Archer definitely struggled in a lot of ways. And could I hold these boundaries? That's a piece for me as a human parent that I
Yeah.
have done a lot of work around. And I think that's also what drew me to the method is I was already in my own growth and wellness transformation as a human. And I thought this
Mm-hmm.
isn't any different. Doing this
Mm-hmm.
with my dogs is not any different. And we'd exhausted every other possibility.
Right.
So why not try it? And so
Yes.
I read the book, I listened to the book, I consulted with you, and then I ordered the materials because that's also a
Mm-hmm.
shift. Stormy, by the way, has always chosen a crate. This dog has never not been in a crate. She chooses it and has always, even well before Way of Life
Mm-hmm.
method.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as we know, if you do learn about canids, they're denning animals. This is what
Yes,
they
they
want.
are.
They desire
100%.
even though humans constructed like that's not a real thing. It is. So
Yes.
and I had been building value actually prior to coming to the Way of Life method for Archer to get comfortable back in the crate. They were both crate trained as younger dogs.
Yes.
You let it go because you don't think you need it. And
That's very common. That's what
oh
we
yeah.
do, right? We crate them when they're babies and then we toss out the crates. And I shared in the academy the a 1 day late weekly check-in,
Mhm.
and it's about crating,
Mm,
about it being one of the most, criticized, demonized practices in the world of training and raising dogs. And one of the criticisms levied against it is that, well, dogs aren't wolves, they're not coyotes, they don't need dens. And meanwhile, whenever I meet a new student, a new prospect client who doesn't crate their dogs, you see the dogs trying to find in the home,
yeah.
alternatives to being crated. They under the couch, under the table, in a separate room, under the stairwell, they looking for spaces of calm and privacy because they don't want to be integrated all the time. They don't want to be in the mix all the time. Life with humans is hard on dogs, even if they've been domesticated however many centuries. This era, this age is particularly hard on dogs because they're embedded in
Hmm.
our families in ways that dogs of prior generations were not necessarily, right? They lived outside or in barns or in kennels or they did not have that level of embeddedness. So now the dogs are looking for these dens.
Yeah.
That it amazes me how many trainers deny that denning instinct that our dogs have. And they don't need to be wolves and coyotes. They're canids, as you say. So I'm glad you already had that going on, but it also doesn't surprise me that sometimes dogs will still resist
Mhm.
and have a hard time, even with something that they're naturally designed to seek and enjoy simply by force of habit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that comes to mind, a big part of Way of Life is this nervous system reset. And I
Yes.
think about our own human
Huge.
experience, and that's a piece like when I started the method, I was like, where is my crate? Because we as humans are so activated, we have so much information coming out of us or
Yeah.
at us, with social media, and the way of the world is really challenging. It's hard to be a
Yes.
human. And our dogs feel all that, but where do we go? Like, what do we do as humans? Do we go
Yeah.
take a walk by ourselves? Do we go close the door in our bedroom to take a nap or read a book or
Yeah.
sit on our decks or whatever it might be? And we don't offer that opportunity to our dogs
Yeah.
and most often. And so that was a piece. And even now, like that's probably the thing I lean into the most is if I'm feeling busy or really activated, I do the basics for the dogs. They go, they do their bathroom, we take short walk, they get fed in their crates and they stay in
Yeah.
their crates. If I
Yeah.
don't feel like I have time to really attend to them, they
Mm-hmm.
stay in their crates. Now, 2 years later, like we're definitely in the midst of the stages. That's the other thing I love about the way of life is there's stage one, stage two, stage three.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean just like for humans that there isn't some regression for all whatever reasons, but I love going back to basics of they can just be in their crates and it's no
Yes.
problem. And
Yes.
it was hard to
Until you
listen.
feel better,
Yeah. Or they
until
feel
you're,
better.
yes,
Sometimes they
exactly.
don't feel well. I
Yeah.
noticed Stormy in particular, sometimes it's just off. And honestly, even still today, like you'll find, where's Stormy? She's in her crate. The
Mm-hmm.
door's open. She's in her crate.
Mm-hmm. Good for her.
Yeah.
And speaking of the stages very quickly, Melissa, I agree with you that it's also another really wonderful feature of the approach is that instead of asking about whether a particular practice in dog training and dog raising is appropriate, the method tells you that, well, it depends on the stage you're in.
Hmm.
So some things are appropriate when you're getting started at stage one and less so when you're moving along at stage two and stage three. So it gives some context to when things are appropriate, when things are not. And meanwhile, the world of dog training tends to be a bit more absolute, like
Hmm.
no or yes. And we're more, it depends on where you're at with the rearing and the relationship.
Well, and I think that's such an important point in that, if we have such an absolute mindset about like this
Hmm.
is what it's a one size fits all,
Yes.
every dog is different. My two dogs, while they are actually like genetically related, they couldn't be more different in so many ways. Just like,
Yeah.
you and your sister, me and my
Yes.
sister, we are very different beings. And so what I need and what my sister needs is very different. And same with our dogs. And so having this absolute mindset, whether it's, the really harsh, aggressive way of training or this other way of like, you know,
Pure positive.
yeah,
Yeah.
is you have to meet the being where they're at. And so, and
100%.
that's what I've really learned with the dogs. Each of my dogs, once I started the method, they were crated. Stormy still is silent. She's like a silent little creature, but I was just reflecting like she definitely disrupted in different ways. Her nervous system, when we first started, she had a flare up of her pancreatitis because her nervous system was just processing. And so there was some diarrhea and some
Yeah.
things like that. Archer just fussed and barked for 2 to 3 months straight. And that
Hmm.
was really hard in a house that's already activated and kids that are
Yes, I'm
neurodivergent.
sure.
Um,
I'm
I
so
had
glad you held on.
yeah, it was not easy. And I tell people when I recommend the way of life, it's not easy. It's
Hmm.
not
Not for
easy
everybody, that's for sure.
and and it's worth it. I mean, it's worth it. And I think the other piece of all these other ways that we want in the human world of a quick fix, right?
Hmm.
We order something, we want it at our house 20 minutes ago. Our dog
Yeah.
has some behavior, our kid has some behavior, our partner has some behavior. We want a quick fix. So we go to medication or we go to whatever way that's quick.
Yes.
And the reality is, there is no quick fix. Medications can be supportive. Changing diets, that's another big, big piece, I think, not only for humans, but in particular for our dogs.
Agreed.
Changing diets, feeding them in a more healthy, natural way has been life-changing for my two, because Stormy would not be on
Yes.
this planet had I kept her on kibble. She would not be alive.
Right.
And we just have to really just lean into what does each being need?
Agreed, Melissa. 100%. And like I said a moment ago, I'm so glad you held on because change is hard.
Hmm.
And what I tell people all the time is that you cannot go from a state of chaos and reactivity and dysregulation and stress to a place of harmony and steadiness and soundness without burning through, releasing the old ways into the new ways.
Hmm.
Sometimes change is smooth, but most of the time with the method, change can be bumpy, but it's very much a part of the journey. And it's actually very bonding when the
Hmm.
dogs put up that resistance and they realize that you're holding on firm, and then they're seeing how much better they're feeling because of what you have done and because of how you have held on tight. Um, it's extremely bonding, even if it doesn't appear to be so in those early days. That's just the dogs are seeing us in a much more credible light, that we're steadfast, and that just boosts their trust in us enormously. So how how are things now, Melissa, for you, the dogs and the family? And very quickly, how has the family also, I'd love to know more about how they
Hmm.
have been coming more and more on board as they've seen change, because that is something we work with all the time. Sometimes we're very lucky that the entire family is on the same page and willing, but more often we have one champion of the method in the family and many
Hmm.
other
Questions.
members of the family that are questioning or critical or even downright resistant. So how tell me a little bit about how things are now for the dogs and the humans in the house.
I definitely notice all the subtle kind of micro changes I was talking to you about before we, hopped on the recording. But I think, everyone leans into it. I still like my younger daughters, like, oh, I'm not putting them back in their crates, which is actually okay now for them not all
Yes.
to
You're
be
you're
in.
beyond that now.
Yeah, but like I said, like I do lean into it, more often than not. And we're going out of town in a couple of weeks, and I have a dog sitter coming, and she'll just do the basics, like
Yeah,
nothing
exactly.
else. And the dogs lean into it. That's the other piece. Like the dogs lean into it. They know this is what the deal is. But how is it now? The family is definitely more supportive. My external family, their little poodles asks me all the time, can she come to my house to go to school? So that's a little, I wish I could bring her and do the method, but they're not interested, the humans. So
Yeah.
they still think it's odd that I do this, but also like I think they notice the subtle differences in Stormy in particular, because my parents' dog and Stormy used to kind of go at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember sharing with you, like, these are the shifts that have been so incredibly powerful. My parents' dog was over. This was probably a year and some months into the method, into our work with the method. And Stormy had just come out of her crate. I was supervising all three dogs. Archer's never really a problem. And my parents' dog came and got right up in Stormy's face. And I watched Stormy look at the dog, think about it, look at me, and then she just walked away. And Stormy
Mm-hmm.
was like in her business, in her space. And Stormy chose, I'm not interested. Thank you so much.
Right.
That that was so powerful. And so yeah, things are have shifted in such great ways. I'm noticing, one of the other things that drew me to the method that I loved, like watching you walk your dogs off leash. That's been a dream of mine since I got both dogs. And we've done
Yeah.
off leash stuff, um, prior to the method. Probably not the best choice, but and I will say, having a reactive dog, she's very connected. So even if she's off leash, she always is checking in, which is what you
Good.
want.
Yes.
Late, a couple times on walks, somehow her leash, I must not have hooked it well into her harness and it comes off. And you would never know. She doesn't even notice that the leash isn't on. She just comes right back.
Love
So
that.
those are like the shifts that are like, I feel more secure in my connection with with the dogs, and they feel more secure in our bond. And I'm noticing them be more tolerant of one another.
Mm-hmm.
Stormy in particular, Archer, when he doesn't see, will sometimes like literally jump on the bed on top of Stormy, which
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't blame her for getting a little snappy because that's kind of rude. He can't see, but she has more tolerance of like, okay, I know he's a little derpy and that's just how he is.
Good.
She's more settled in her system. So it's just been like these little shifts, and they're kind of laying near each other more often. Stormy's choosing
Hmm.
to hang out outside more frequently than she
Good
used
for
to.
her.
And those are the new shifts. Like, that's the thing that excites me so much is like, there's still work to do. We all have still work to do. And
Still work to do, but you continue to see
yeah,
more
these
and more and
little,
more improvements and
oh, yeah,
changes
it's so beautiful. And when things feel off kilter, we just go back to our
to
basics.
basics. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the gift that keeps on giving, as I like to say.
I love that.
It's really amazing what it can do. And all the more of a reason to hold on, to the hold on to the journey because it will continue to pay off over time.
Right,
It becomes not just something we do, the method becomes something that we are really as people, as handlers. We have another member in the community that she told me the other day. She said that she has a lot of experience, has always had dogs, many dogs, and she said to me, I cannot imagine doing things differently now. With the next dogs, I cannot imagine how I even did things before. No
right,
wonder the dogs struggled. No wonder,
right.
right? Now that we know what we know, no wonder things were the way that they were. So, did you think it was possible to be in this state, and did you think your family could be, you know, more supportive of this different
No,
approach?
I sort of, with the dogs and like many things, I usually just charge forward anyway, but it's certainly nice to have them all leaning in a more supportive way.
Good,
The little things like Stormy only would snuggle with me. She's snuggling with everybody now. Like,
terrific.
that's a really beautiful
I bet they
gift.
love it.
Oh yeah. And um I don't know that the other people in the house are putting the connection between like this is the work that we've done
Yeah,
to support the dogs to feel sound in asking and sharing what they want or don't want. I will say too, like even my younger daughter notices because Stormy still sometimes is like, "Why are you touching me?" And she'll call out like to other people like she doesn't want to be touched. So like just those little learnings of like paying attention to what our dogs really are saying, which, can be confusing, but Stormy's usually very clear, is so magical. So I can't wait to see what happens moving forward. And as I've shared with you many times, I can't wait to get a new dog someday, not
yeah,
now, um, to just begin the way of life method.
yeah,
It just makes so much sense in building a sound, strong bond
yeah,
between human and dog and human, because
yeah.
it's a circular way of being.
100% goes both ways. The energies travel between you to them and them to you. This
Yeah.
is so awesome, Melissa. Last question.
Mhm.
When did you know that you were going to be okay with you and your two and your family? Was there a particular incident, or do you feel that it was more of a gradual realization?
That's a good question. I mean, for sure, of this last several months, it's just been so clear. I'm trying to think, the first bit was hard and the separating the dogs on walks. And maybe that was sort of maybe the glimmers, I'll say, of like going for a walk with each dog separately
Mm-hmm.
and just feeling this connection and the gratitude coming from each dog
Mm-hmm.
of like, I get to be with you by myself.
Yes.
And Stormy asks for that often. Like she loves nothing more than just like sitting in a park, the two of us. And
Mm-hmm.
Archer really appreciates just a walk, the two of us, or a
Yeah.
walk down the park to play ball, just the two of
Yeah.
us. Um, I think the other piece that I think about, Stormy used to steal Archer's ball and he'd get so frustrated. And, that incident that really brought us to the way of life where Stormy
Yeah.
made contact with Archer. Now, Stormy, who never really wanted to play fetch, I go and play double fetch with these dogs in the yard.
Terrific.
Or if I'm playing fetch with Archer, Stormy's not that interested. If she's not interested in playing, she just hangs out. And that's just so peaceful is like it's just the little glimmers, I guess I'll say. And I think that's
Yeah.
true not just of way of life, of just life in general, of like if we can just lean into the little like, oh, look, see, that did go well. Or that was hard. And look at this beautiful thing, this connection, this behavior change. And it's not just the dogs, it's our own work of really like settling into this is hard and I can do it. And when the
Yeah.
dogs see you doing that, they also, they're doing their work, we're doing our work. It's like this magical creation.
We can do it. We can do hard things and then
Yeah.
enjoy the payoff. It is so boosting of
Mm.
our sense of self-esteem and self-efficacy and and pride in seeing what we've been able to accomplish.
Yeah.
So, anything else,
Yeah.
Melissa, before we close? Any closing thoughts? This was awesome. Thank you so very much.
Uh, I think the other piece is just so beautiful. Lots of people come, they've had guidance from vets, from other trainers, from, social media, whatever. Everyone has their way of doing things. Is just, be curious about
Yes.
what's right for you, even if people give you feedback about that couldn't possibly be.
Yeah.
Um, and like you said, we can do hard things. It's not easy and it's worth it. Taking the time to settle yourself as a human and to help support your dogs in settling to become sound,
Mm-hmm.
spirited creatures
Mm-hmm.
is so beautiful. And it's, like you said, it's bumpy sometimes, but
Yeah.
the payout is so beautiful. And my dogs have a long life, hopefully to live.
Yes.
And
What
I
did
look
your
at
vet say? Archer might be here until his 20s?
yeah, yeah. He's 10 and a half, and our dogs are considered senior dogs at 7. My dogs are little, so we've talked about how maybe they're less senior, but I see some slowing down in him, and that's okay, but they're also super healthy, and we
Yeah.
take them as long as they're able to be on the planet, and then we let them leave their bodies, and that's also a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. But yeah, I
I
mean
agree.
it's a journey. I think that's the piece. Even when it's hard, just remember it's a journey.
Yes. And that too is part of the method, right? Is to carry on with our work all the way to the end.
Hmm. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much, Melissa. That
Yeah.
was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.